Good morning, Devils fans. I'm going to start today's video off slightly different as I have a shout out for one of my favorite Devils fans on this planet, a lifelong Devil fan, and my younger brother, as today is his birthday. And as fate would have it, not but a little more than a couple of months after my brother's birth, the subject of today's video was brought into this world, and that is Timo Meier. Timo grew up in Herisau, Switzerland, playing a wide range of sports, but finding for his love of hockey at a young age. At the age of 15, he accepted an apprenticeship with SC Rapperswil-Jona Lakers, a National A Swiss team, where he studied under the likes of David Aschbacher and Jason Spezza, former NHLers. Jason Spezza, obviously much more well known, and they brought their tutelage to Timo and imparted their NHL and hockey wisdom upon him from that young age. In 2013, he was selected 12th overall by the Halifax Mooseheads of the CHL, where he ended up playing 3 seasons before he was traded to the Rhone-Noranda Huskies. During this time, leading up to the 2015 NHL draft, he was ranked as the 12th overall prospect, but ended up being selected 9th overall by the San Jose Sharks. Sounds like he would have made the Sharks opening night roster out of camp in the 2016-17 season, but he missed almost a month of playing time due to mononucleosis, and thus started his professional career in the AHL. When he was ready to be called up to play for the Sharks after the stretch of AHL, Timo came down with painful lesions and again would have his NHL debut delayed. Finally, on December 16th, 2016, Timo would make his NHL debut versus the Montreal Canadiens, where he would score his first NHL goal on his very first shot, which came against Carey Price in an eventual 4-2 win over the Habs. His rookie season overall would be a frustrating one, as yet injury after injury would keep him back down in the AHL, whether it was lingering or new, just obnoxious pains that would keep him out. The season was full of going up and down between the AHL and NHL. In total, he would end the regular season with 6 points in 34 games and no points in 5 playoff appearances, as then again, after the playoffs, he was sent down to the AHL, where the Barracudas made the Western Finals. His sophomore year was a bit better, becoming an NHL mainstay, playing 81 of 82 games, where that one single game he found himself a healthy scratch for a single game, where because he had started the season with only 3 goals in 28 games. After that stretch, though, he would end up putting up a respectable amount of points, ending the season with 36 points in 81 games and having 5 points in 10 playoff games before being eliminated by Vegas in the second round. It was during this season that Timo would actually have his first fine as an NHL player, where he smacked Michael Del Zotto in the face with his stick. Timo would go on after that season to win silver with Team Switzerland at the 2018 IAHF World Championship. The following season, Timo would continue to improve his play, having his best season yet in 2019. During that season, he received his second fine for embellishment in a play involving his fellow countryman Roman Josi. Timo would end this season with 66 points in 78 regular season games and would put up a very respectable 15 points in 20 playoff games. But this would be his last trip to the playoffs as a San Jose Shark. In total, Timo would put up 264 points in 394 regular season games and 20 points in 35 playoff games as a Shark. Now to the part that we all really care about, and that is when Timo became a New Jersey Devil. On February 26, 2023, Timo was traded to the New Jersey Devils in a massive deal where we sent back Fabian Zetterlund, Andreas Janssen, Shakir Mukhamadullin, and Nikita Okhotyuk, a 2023 first, 2024 second, and a 7th round 2024 pick, with some conditions thrown in there on the first and second. Devils also received in this deal Scott Harrington, Santeri Hataka, forward prospect Timur Ibragimov, goalie prospect Zachary Emmond, and a 5th round pick in the 2024 draft. Obviously, Timo was the star of this. The other guys may or may not see any time, but from what I'm hearing, Hataka is actually catching eyes of a lot of our scouts, so maybe possibly, he ends up finding his way into the roster as well, which would make this trade even more of a steal than it already is. However, as Timo has had unfortunately reoccurring a bit in his career, due to injury, he did not make his debut with the Devils until March 5th against the Coyotes, where he did score a goal in his very first game. However, the next 4 he would go on to have no points, and the next 5 without a goal. Given that, he still would end the regular season with the Devils with 9 goals, 14 points, and 21 regular season games, which is, I think, very respectable considering I think most of us would probably consider Timo's regular season stint with us to be mostly underwhelming from a production standpoint. So given the fact he basically went 2/3 of a point per game, I am very impressed, and I think that shows that once he builds up the synergy with our forwards, that was becoming more and more apparent the more games he played here. This guy's going to put up a lot of points with the Devils. Now, in the playoffs, Timo was obviously not as productive as we or he would want. Only 2 goals and 4 points in 11 games. No points at all in the first round. But he was still a force of physicality and lived rent-free in the Rangers' head throughout that entire series. And his production did take a big jump in the series versus the Carolina Hurricanes, where in the last game he did have a point and an assist, and unfortunately a game where we did lose in overtime, but I think was his best game of the playoffs. After the season, although we were hoping maybe it came a little bit sooner than it did, on June 28th, 2023, Timo inked an 8-year, $70.4 million extension with the Devils. So that really catches us up to where he is today. But what about his play on the ice? Timo's one of the few star power forwards in the league. I think he is pretty distinctly the second best in the NHL behind Matty Tkachuk. He's a play-driving force with his size and puck-carrying ability. Transition play is immaculate, using his size and speed and stick handling to maneuver usually pretty freely over the blue line into the offensive zone. With that size and speed, he can beat you clean with his shot coming in through the dot. He can power around you, driving the net, or even go for a wraparound if he catches the goalie cheating trying to play for that shot. He's a multi-threat option with the puck on his stick, making him very dangerous. The goalie does not know whether to set for a shot coming in from the point, a shot at the circle. He's going to drive the net and cut across the blue ice, or even go for the wraparound play, setting up somebody else in front of the net, or sticking the puck in on the opposite side of the net if they committed too far to the one side. He's not just a goal-scoring threat, as he has pretty strong playmaking ability as well for setting up his teammates. His forte is obviously going to be his goal-scoring, but he put out a very respectable amount of assists, and I think given the lineup he had in San Jose, now he did play obviously with Erik Karlsson during his, mostly through the Norris winning season, and he did have guys like Couturier and even Pavelski through stretches, so it's not like he has played with chumps his entire career. By me, not at all, actually. He's mostly played with a lot of really strong players. None of them are quite going to be the level of play across the board that I think he's going to have here in New Jersey. So I think we'll see even more of his playmaking ability here. But really, he's here to score goals, and he's going to do a lot of it. But this isn't the only way Timo impacts his play on the ice. What about when he isn't scoring goals? Well, being a winger, he isn't some defensive zone stud by any means. But thanks to his size and ability to muscle guys off of the puck and his elite transition play, he is pretty good defensively as far as his impacts go. His transition up into the offensive zone, his net driving, very much he's a guy of good defense is an amazing offense. So when he isn't scoring and isn't just muscling guys and transitioning, he's still throwing the body on the forecheck in the D zone, and this part of his game is what led him to be the hit leader for the Devils in the playoffs. And not just that, he's an absolute pest that gets inside the other guys' heads. And this isn't to say he's like a Matty Tkachuk or a Marchand, or really mucking it up out there in a play that you're going to look at and be like, I'm glad he's on my team, but if he was on the other team, I would consider that fairly dirty or obnoxious or, below you in a type of play. Really, it's just, he's going to muscle you off the puck and is going to outplay you. And just by doing this continuously over and over every shift, especially in a playoff type situation, he's going to get in your head. As we saw, he had the play, falling into Shesterkin. You can argue whether he purposely fell into him or not, but the ref saw it as a legal play. And that's the type of stuff where Timo can really ride that line very well. Isn't out there trying to injure anybody, but he's going to be obnoxious. At 6'1", 220, he's a fairly unique specimen in the role that he plays, and is arguably at this point in how the NHL builds their teams and how games are played, one of the most sought after assets in the NHL. So the fact that we have him locked up right at this age for as many years as we do, we are very lucky to have Timo Meier. So what about off the ice? What does Timo do? What does he bring? Well, he's a workout freak. He feels like every other day we had a new workout video from him sporting Devils gear, even before he was signed to our team for the long term. He ran a children's development camp in Switzerland this offseason, again, dressing up all the kids in Devils gear. This time this was after he inked the deal. But, given him, Nico, Siegenthaler, Schmid, there's going to be a lot of lifelong Devils fans coming up in Switzerland in this generation. Now, at San Jose, he did a lot of promotional and marketing videos, so I think it would be great now that he knows he's a long-term Devil to get him involved with those. If him and Dougie did collaborations along with that, or even just did his own thing, he's great in front of the camera. He's very talkative, very personable, very charismatic. Any more I can see of Timo, even better. And for those that like to follow his Instagram or anything, he's very much a thirst trap, so if you're into that type of content, definitely check out his Instagram. So if we want to look forward to his role here on the Devils, Timo's going to be Timo. He's going to play wing with one of our stud centers. Obviously, you just absolutely foam at the mouth over the thought of someone of his skill level being with Jack. But I think with just the amount that Timo likes to have the puck on his stick and how much he likes to transition into the zone, feels like he might be better suited with his fellow countryman Nico. They obviously have a bunch of synergy playing internationally together already. But really, he's going to be able to bounce around between either of the guys and play phenomenally regardless. Whatever the team finds he better synergizes, whether that's with one guy part of the season, another guy another part. I personally like trying to keep guys on lines together just to build that synergy leading up to playoffs. He's going to be great no matter where he ends up. He's going to help also greatly improve our power play, whether he's going to be a trigger man or a net front presence, both of which he did in San Jose. We have a wealth of talent, especially bringing in a guy like Toffoli, and then we have Timo, Jack, Nico, Brat. We basically have too many guys that are power play 1 skill level than there is slots to fill on the power play. So we'll really see where he ends up slotting in and fitting in best. But when you have guys that are multifaceted, that can kind of move around, I actually really hope we kind of play more of a rover type power play where guys are just moving in and out of positions and not static in one spot. I think we have the skill level of guys to do that. So that's really what I'd like to see. But Timo's going to be on that top power play. He's going to improve it. He's going to put up a lot of points for him and the guys. So what was my top 3 plays for Timo? Now, obviously, they're going to be all as a Devil. And with number 3, it's actually going to be a regular season game where he scored those 2 goals against the Tampa Bay Lightning. One was a game-tying goal in the second period, about halfway through. And the second goal came with just minutes left in the third period, where we went on to go on and win in a shootout. For me, this was really a defining moment for Timo, just coming in really enacting his force on this game. It almost felt like the Lightning were outplaying us through portions of this game, and it was Timo's goals that really brought us back into it and leading to the eventual W. Number 2 would be his first goal in his very first game as a Devil. Came in the first period. It wasn't anything super crazy. It was just a nice juicy rebound. He put it, I believe it was on the backhand. But the hype was real, just coming in. First game, coming back from an injury, the weight, the anticipation of it all, and he scores that goal. Number 1, while he didn't have a single point, I'm going to just put here the Rangers series as a whole. Now, like I said, he was a physical presence, something that we were pretty lacking on the team. And he lived rent-free in every Rangers head throughout the series, especially Shesterkin. Now, while he couldn't solve Shesty, obviously at some point during the regular season, or if we meet him again in playoffs, Timo's going to end up lighting him up. And just the way that he seemed to control the series outside of like Jack Hughes, without putting up a single point, was just something you really have not seen from a Devils player in a very long time. And just, again, made the hype for this guy, what he's going to do here long term, something I just cannot wait to see for the years to come. And with those years to come, we've got 8 more of them. Now, while you could argue power forward games age more poorly than, let's say, a finesse game, but speed would be the thing that seems to age the most poorly. the wear and tear. Now, and Timo has had injuries throughout his career. You might be looking at that 8 years, like, we'll see what it brings. But even in those latter years, if the scoring falls off, if he can keep up that physical type play, even to a point, he'll be well worth that money, especially considering what he's going to bring to us in these early years. I was very big on Timo. I could not wait for him to get to this team. When I saw during the All-Star break that he was vacation, whether it was on accident or not, with a lot of our boys, I basically knew it was a lock that he was coming to the Devil. And through the grapevine, it sounded like he wanted to be a Devil and there was nowhere else he would have signed long-term outside of getting way more money than we even offered him. I think the deal he is signed to is below market value, what he would have gotten in free agency, but is pretty fair value for what he brings. I definitely think you can argue it is a steal of a contract, considering the fact that he could have probably gotten $10 million out on the open market. Just again, he is a coveted asset with that power forward game at the age he's at. We're building an insane team here, and Timo's going to be a major pillar of that. I know you all are as excited to see a full season of Timo with the Devils, what he could bring with everything we have up front. And really, it's going to be so exciting seeing him build up that synergy starting in training camp through the preseason and getting into the regular season itself. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts, what you think of what your favorite time with Timo as a Devil was. If you disagree with where I think his deployment is going to be, or if you completely agree with me as well. Tell me that throughout the day, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. Let's go Devils.